I would thank the chairman and ranking member and all our commissioners for joining us today. As COVID-19 has threatened our public health and dangerous wildfires continue to ravage homes throughout the western United States, taking many lives with them, the work of the Federal Communications Commission to ensure connectivity to all Americans has never been more critical. When I say all Americans, I mean every American citizen. This idea that 25.3 is appropriate for any American citizen is wrong. The idea that we are the capacity issues are going to be lower in some areas than in others is wrong. We need the idea that we have this type of disparity throughout our process is wrong. We need to look into the future, plan for the future, and allow everybody, businesses, healthcare, education, to have the same abilities as any other area in America. In this Congress alone, landmark legislation has been signed into law to benefit every daily lives of Americans. The Broadband Data Act, the Secure and Trusted Communications Network Act, the Pallone-Trune Traced Act. Despite these success stories and implementing work by the FCC, the digital divide continues to hamper distance learning, access to telehealth services, and the ability to work remotely for far too many Americans, and this is a severe injustice. It's troubling to me as somebody that's worked on future planning for part of my life to look at us trying to make up for the past mistakes and having this hurdle to get over to allow every American to have the same abilities. Commissioners Sparks and Rosenworcel, I firmly believe broadband infrastructure investments must be paired with programs to expand the adoption of broadband among underserved populations in inner cities and rural America alike. I was proud to introduce the Bipartisan Broadband Adoption and Opportunity Act with Congressman Johnson, which requires the FCC to work with NTIA states and stakeholders to develop best practices to increase broadband adoption rates and program support for underserved individuals. Could you each comment on the broadband adaptation policy contributions you believe the FCC and its advisory committees could provide to the development of these best practices for states and localities if my legislation were enacted into law?
Yes, Congressman, I thought your legislation was properly framed, has the three-pronged approach that a lot of us talk about, and that is making sure there's access to affordable, reliable broadband, access to affordable devices, and then following through and making sure that folks are trained and have the skills that they need to safely navigate the internet, empower themselves and their communities. So it hits all 3 points. And I would mention some of the public-private partnerships that are also wrapped up in that legislation is something that I have seen up close and personal with some of my digital opportunity equity recognizees as well that have provided refurbished devices, discounted internet plans. I thought it was a tremendous approach and advancement.
Thank you.
I agree with what my colleague said, and I will just add this. We're never going to solve our nation's digital divide if we think we're only going to do it in Washington. And your legislation and other bills like it that compel us to work at the state, local, and federal level together is the way to make this happen. Our maps in Washington don't reflect the lived experience of people around this country. We got to figure out how we take their know-how, their knowledge, and use it to help solve our digital divide. First, by telling us where service is and is not, and then by helping develop programs in our local communities to make sure everyone gets connected.
Thank you. Commissioner Starks, when the FCC recently released its findings from its supply chain information collection proceeding, it underscored the vast quality of suspect network equipment present in domestic networks, including by providers in my district, and estimated the total cost to RIP and replace its equipment. By the same token, the Commission recently held its forum on 5G Open Radio Access Networks, Open RAN, which examined the potential for secure, cost-effective, and domestically produced network equipment that can catapult rural broadband expansion, increase access to 5G services, and support network resiliency. As we prepare to appropriate funding, I guess to
The
get to the,
gentleman's time has expired. Would the
Thank-
commissioner just have a quick answer?
I think there's a quick answer, Madam Chair, but I will say this. This is an indication of what type of service we get in rural America. I couldn't hear what some of the answers that are going on, and I'm looking at the cell tower right now. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for the question, Mr. Congressman. Briefly, I think ORAN is going to be an important part of our future, making sure that we capitalize on our leadership in software and wireless technology. And so ORAN holds tremendous promise.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.